Hello, everyone. Today I bring you an exciting and inspiring story that touches the heart and teaches us about true friendship and the importance of family. Get ready to be moved by the journey of John Oliver, a patriarch who, after an unexpected betrayal by his children, finds support and redemption in the figure of Julia, a caring nurse. In this narrative full of twists and turns, you will see how family connections can be tested, but never destroyed. Don't miss the chance to embark on this emotional adventure. If you enjoy stories that speak about overcoming challenges, love, and forgiveness, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content like this. I'm curious to know, which city are you watching from? Leave your comment down below and let's spread messages of hope and unity together. What happens when your own family becomes your greatest enemy? The story of John Oliver and his family unfolds in Chicago, where their family relationships become an emotional battlefield. John, a businessman who dedicated his life to building a successful company, finds himself betrayed by his sons, Peter and Anthony, who wish to sell the legacy he created with such sacrifice. Meanwhile, Julia, a warm and attentive nurse, enters John's life, bringing not only support, but a new perspective on what truly matters. John has always dreamed of providing the best for his family. With a past marked by sacrifices and unwavering determination, he built his company from the ground up, believing it was the legacy he would leave for his children. However, the reality is different. The environment he created has become a battleground, where ideals of success and prosperity collide with the frustrations and pressures that his sons feel. Peter and Anthony, tired of living in their father's shadow, see the sale of the company as a form of liberation, while John struggles to understand their motivations. The conflict intensifies when secrets from the past begin to emerge. Flashbacks reveal moments of joy and unity that contrast with the current tension, allowing John to realize the pain of the separation that has formed between him and his sons. He wonders where it all went wrong and how his ambitions, once seen as a path to family happiness, have turned into a barrier that separates them. John's vulnerability is palpable, and his fears haunt him. He fears not only losing his company but also the love of his children. Julia's arrival changes the dynamics of his life. With her empathy and wisdom, she becomes an unexpected ally, helping John see that to regain his connection with Peter and Anthony, he needs to confront his own mistakes. The interactions between them reveal a growing tension, as John finds himself forced to reconsider his priorities. Julia, with her gentle manner, provokes deep reflections in John, which begin to alter his perspective on what is truly important. As financial and emotional difficulties intertwine, John realizes that the true challenge lies not just in maintaining the company, but in restoring his relationship with his sons. The weight of betrayals and disappointments becomes heavier, and the search for redemption intensifies. The climax of the story promises to be a moment of great tension, where the future of the company and the family relationship are at stake, requiring courage and vulnerability from all involved. John and his family's journey transforms into a quest for second chances, where the message about forgiveness and the importance of communication stands out. In the end, the story culminates in a reunion that redefines the meaning of family, showing that despite difficulties, love and connection can prevail. It is an emotional narrative that resonates deeply with the audience, keeping them engaged until the very last moment, as they reflect on their own relationships and the importance of the legacy we leave for future generations. John Oliver was in his office, surrounded by awards and certificates that symbolized years of hard work. The company he had built with dedication and love was, for him, a reflection of his identity. However, the atmosphere that once was filled with pride was now heavy, marked by uncomfortable silences and cold glances. Peter and Anthony, sons who once admired him, now saw themselves as prisoners of a legacy they did not choose. The decision to sell the company, which seemed like an act of betrayal to John, was for them a quest for freedom. As he thought about this, frustration grew in his chest. He remembered the times he had taught his children about hard work, responsibility, and the importance of a legacy, but at the same time, his children felt suffocated by those very lessons. The pressure to live up to their father's expectations had become an unbearable burden, and for them, selling the company seemed like a way to reclaim their lives. John couldn't understand what had gone wrong. To him, success was synonymous with happiness, but now he felt he was losing everything, including the love of his sons. The situation escalated when a confrontation occurred during a family dinner. The table, which had once been a space of unity and laughter, turned into a battlefield. Peter, with a trembling voice, expressed his frustration. "Dad, we don't want this. We don't want to live your life. We want our own." The declaration cut John like a knife. He looked at Anthony, who only nodded in agreement. The disdain in his son's eyes was a reality John never wanted to face. The tension escalated when Julia, the nurse who had entered John's life, decided to intervene. She observed the situation from a distance, feeling the pain that permeated the family dynamic. Julia had always believed that communication was the key to any relationship. With her empathy and understanding, she began to reach out to John, making him realize that the struggle was not just about the company, but about the connection he had lost with his children. "You need to hear what they have to say, John. It's not just about what you want, but what they truly desire." Her words resonated in his mind, but he hesitated to act. At that moment, John felt torn. He had always been someone who fought for his goals, who did not easily let himself be shaken. However, now, he found himself at a crossroads. The idea of losing the company, his greatest pride, distressed him. But losing the relationship with his children was a pain he could not bear. The internal battle consumed him. He was at a point where he needed to decide between his love for the company and his love for his family. Furthermore, external pressures began to intensify. Creditors were demanding answers about the company's financial situation, and rumors of a possible sale started circulating in the business community. John felt cornered, and the insecurity made him question his leadership abilities. What was once a source of pride was now becoming a burden. He realized that the path to success was filled with obstacles, which were not only financial but emotional as well. The friendship that was forming between John and Julia also faced challenges. As she tried to help him open up, he felt reluctant to expose his weaknesses. The connection they were building was genuine, but the fear of losing everything he had achieved kept him trapped. Julia, noticing John's internal struggle, decided it was time to be more direct. "You can't face this alone, John. We need to find a way to work together, not just to save the company, but to save your family." Her words were a reminder that love and support could be the keys to a solution, but John was still caught in his own web of fears. As the days passed, the weight of the choices he needed to make grew more intense. John was in a cycle of reflection and doubt, questioning his deepest beliefs about success and happiness. He remembered moments of family joy, the laughter that echoed in their home, and wondered if there was still hope to regain that. The battle that was once purely professional was now becoming an emotional struggle, forcing him to confront his deepest fears. With each passing day, John realized he needed to take action. The road ahead would be difficult, but the search for a new beginning seemed to be the only way out. The love for his family and the company was at stake, and he needed to find a way to balance these two worlds before it was too late. The days dragged on for John, each dawn bringing new uncertainties. The pressure of a possible sale of the company loomed over him like a dark cloud, and the weight of his children's expectations only increased. Even with Julia's help, who was trying to guide him through this emotional maze, he felt lost. The company that once brought joy now seemed like a labyrinth with no exit, and the idea of losing his children consumed him. Family gatherings became increasingly rare. Peter and Anthony spent hours locked in their rooms, avoiding their father's presence. John tried to reach out to them, but each attempt felt like climbing a slippery mountain. He remembered when they were little, when a simple trip to the park could light up their faces. Now, frustration filled their hearts, and the silence in the house was deafening. One night, while John was reviewing financial reports, he received an unexpected call from an old business partner. The tone of the conversation was grim. "John, you need to act fast. If the sale doesn't happen, the company could collapse. The creditors are growing impatient. The pressure that was already intense turned into an unbearable weight." He felt his breath falter for a moment, a clear sign that the situation was slipping out of his hands. Julia, noticing the change in John's behavior, decided to intervene more directly. In a candid conversation, she challenged him to face his fears, not just regarding the company, but about what truly mattered in his life. "John, what do you really want? What do you desire for your children?" You need to decide if you're willing to sacrifice your emotional well-being for something that may no longer be what you imagined. Her words echoed in John's mind, but he hesitated. Sacrificing the company meant giving up years of sacrifices. That same day, while walking through the city, John came across an old photo of the company on a mural. He remembered the day of the inauguration, the joy and pride he felt. But instead of nostalgia, a wave of sadness hit him. He realized that although the company was part of his identity, it was not all he was. The pride he once felt was turning into a feeling of imprisonment. The following days were marked by a series of disappointments, sales were declining, and with the lack of communication and trust, the team was demotivated. John, unable to handle the pressure, began to distance himself from Julia and the children. The tension between him and his family intensified even more. One night, after a particularly difficult day, he came home to find a letter from Peter. The young man expressed his pain and frustration, describing how he felt trapped in a world he did not choose. Tears streamed down John's face as he read his son's words. The pain that once seemed distant was now palpable, and he realized it was time to act. Meanwhile, Julia was becoming an even more important ally. She dedicated her time to helping John understand his feelings and the importance of vulnerability. You don't have to be strong all the time. It's normal to feel fear and insecurity. What matters is how you face it. Their friendship deepened, but the growing tension surrounding the company was putting extra weight on their relationship. In a moment of clarity, John decided it was time to have an honest conversation with his children. He invited them for dinner, determined to open his heart. The idea of confronting his fears and exposing himself was terrifying, but he knew he needed to. When Peter and Anthony arrived, the atmosphere was heavy. John took a deep breath and, with a trembling voice, began to speak. I know I have expectations of you, but I am human too. I am afraid of losing the company, but I am also afraid of losing you. Peter's eyes filled with tears. Dad, we just want you to see us as we are. We don't need to follow in your footsteps. We need the freedom to be who we really are. His son's words echoed in the room, and John realized that the freedom they were seeking was not just related to the company but also to love and acceptance. The conversation was a turning point. While the tension still lingered, there was a sense of relief. John realized he was willing to fight for a new path, one that involved not just financial success but also happiness and family connection. With Julia's support, he began to reassess his priorities and understand that sometimes letting go of what you love can be the first step toward reclaiming what really matters. The days continued to drag for John, but an unexpected event was about to change everything. After the revealing dinner with his children, the atmosphere in the house felt a little lighter, but the reality of the outside world still weighed on his shoulders. The next morning, as he was getting ready for work, he received a text message from Julia. She suggested they meet for coffee, something she never did without a good reason. Unease grew within him. What could be so urgent? When he arrived at the small cafe where they usually met, John noticed that Julia had a serious expression. As soon as they sat down, she took a deep breath and began to speak. John, I received some concerning information. One of your company's creditors is planning an aggressive move. They want to take down the company, and you need to prepare. John's heart raced. The thought of losing everything he had built, not just for himself but for his children, was devastating. Why didn't you tell me this before? John asked, frustration seeping into his voice. Julia looked him in the eye, unwavering. Because I wanted you to have space to connect with your children first. But now you need to act. This is a test not only for the company but also for you. Those words echoed in his mind. John realized that the pressure was not just about the company's future, but about who he was as a father and a man. He was about to lose control not only over the business but over his family's lives. With a heavy heart, he decided he needed to change his approach. That day, he arrived early at the office, determined to face the situation. However, the atmosphere was tense. The team was restless, murmuring about cuts and restructuring. He sat at the conference table, feeling the weight of expectations upon him. Folks, he began, I know the last few months have been tough. But we are in this together, and I need you to trust me. We will turn this around. He spoke sincerely, even knowing that his words might not be enough. But at that moment, He realized this was not just a fight for the company, it was a fight for trust and unity within the team. The following days were a roller coaster of emotions. John spent hours in meetings, seeking solutions and trying to calm the spirits. But inside, he struggled with his own insecurity. The pressure was immense, and amidst the chaos he remembered the conversation with his children. They had asked for freedom and acceptance, something he was struggling to give them himself. He knew this was the key to a new beginning. Then something unexpected happened. During a meeting with creditors, John had an epiphany. He realized he could not allow the fear of losing the company to dominate him. Instead of presenting himself as a desperate man, he decided to be transparent. He opened his heart, sharing his uncertainties and the importance of the company not just for him, but for his family. This company represents years of work, but more than that, it represents a legacy, and I am not willing to let it go without a fight. John's words were like a lightning bolt in the storm. To his surprise, some creditors began to show empathy. They realized that the company was not just a number on their spreadsheets, but a story of dedication and love. One of the creditors, who had children, seemed to connect with John's passion. "I understand what you are going through. Let's find a solution together." The change in perspective was a turning point for John. He realized that instead of being trapped in a rigid concept of success, he could redefine what it meant for him. Success did not have to be purely financial. It could also be about building relationships and a better future for his children. With this new vision, John began to reassess his approach to business and life. He started to involve his family in decisions, seeking Peter and Anthony's opinions. This change not only strengthened family bonds, but also brought new energy to the team. John understood that sharing the weight of responsibility was a sign of strength, not weakness. In the end, the fight for the company turned into a battle for reconnection with his children. He realized that he was willing to sacrifice what he needed, not to save the company itself, but to ensure that his family remained united. This decision became a crucial step in his journey of self-discovery. He finally understood that true success lay not in numbers or material achievements, but in the happiness and love he could cultivate around him. After the decisive meeting with the creditors, John felt a slight relief, but he knew that the battle was far from over. He couldn't relax, as new challenges were lurking. The following weeks were a roller coaster of emotions. While trying to keep the company afloat, he also worked to strengthen the bonds with his children. The connection he had established with them during that revealing dinner had now become a pillar in his life. He began to dedicate more time to Peter and Anthony, seizing every opportunity to listen to their concerns and dreams. One day, while they were in the living room, Peter mentioned that he would like to learn to play the guitar. John realized that even though he was fighting for his company, it didn't mean he couldn't support his children's dreams. "Let's do this together," he said, excited. "We can have lessons on Saturday." However, the emotional burden of his professional struggle still weighed on him. John often found himself thinking about how to balance his responsibilities. One night, while trying to unwind after an exhausting day, he sat on the couch, looking out the window. The moonlight illuminated the backyard, and he found himself reflecting on what really mattered. What do I want for my children? The question echoed in his mind. He realized that the answer wasn't just financial success, but a safe and loving environment. At school, Peter and Anthony began to feel the impact of John's worries. Their grades started to drop, and conversations about the future became tenser. One afternoon, while reviewing homework, Anthony blurted out, "Dad, you're always worried. What's happening with the company?" John hesitated but decided to be honest. "It's a tough time, but I'm doing my best to make sure everything will be okay. I promise I won't let it affect you." However, Anthony and Peter's concerns didn't disappear. They noticed the tension on their father's face, and even though they didn't understand all the details, they felt the pressure in the air. It was a new obstacle that John hadn't anticipated: how to protect his children from the uncertainty that surrounded him. He decided he needed to find a balance between being transparent and protecting his family. As he dealt with the company, John began to implement changes. He called regular meetings with the team, where they not only discussed challenges but also celebrated small victories. This new focus on collaboration and support helped create a more positive environment. The team began to work better together, and John felt that by being open, he was building a support network that could help them all get through tough times. But the pressure didn't cease. Days turned into weeks, and uncertainties continued to loom. On a particularly stressful morning, upon receiving more bad news about the company's financial situation, John found himself on the verge of a breakdown. He decided to go for a walk. The fresh air and sunlight helped clear his thoughts. He remembered Julia's words about the importance of connecting with his feelings. If I don't take care of myself, how can I take care of them? He thought. After that walk, John realized he needed help. He started looking for a therapist, someone he could vent to about his anxieties and frustrations. In one of his sessions, he spoke about the weight he felt regarding his family and the company. The therapist helped him understand that no matter what happened with the company, the love and support he offered his children were what truly mattered. The conversation with the therapist also helped him see that he had changed. He was no longer the man who sought success at any cost. Now, he was more aware of what really mattered. With that in mind, he committed to being more present. In the following days, he made sure to be home in time for dinner, even if it meant working late on other days. He began cooking with his children, creating fun moments that also strengthened family bonds. The changes didn't come without challenges. There were days when the pressure would build up again, making him feel overwhelmed. On one of those days, John had a heated argument with a team member who was frustrated with payment delays. After the argument, he felt guilty and decided to apologize. He realized that open communication was vital, not only with his family but also with his team. By doing this, he began to cultivate an environment where everyone felt heard and valued. In the end, John learned that the fight for the company was also a fight for his own identity. He began to see each obstacle as an opportunity for growth. And as he faced these challenges calm, he also became a more loving and present father, showing his children that despite the difficulties, true strength lies in connection and love. After the decisive meeting with the creditors, John felt a slight relief. But he knew that the battle was far from over. The pressure to keep the company afloat was intense, and he found himself trapped in a roller coaster of emotions. The following weeks were challenging, but they also offered him an opportunity for personal growth. He realized that even amid the chaos, it was important to strengthen the bonds with his children, Peter and Anthony. During a dinner, where everyone shared their concerns, John realized that the connection he had established with them had become a fundamental pillar in his life. John decided to dedicate more time to his children, listening to their dreams and worries. When Peter expressed the desire to learn to play the guitar, John saw a chance not only to support his son's dream, but also to create precious memories. "Let's do this together," he said, excited. "We can have lessons on Saturday." This decision brought a bit of lightness into his life, but the weight of his responsibility still followed him. As he struggled to balance his professional and family obligations, John often found himself thinking about what really mattered. He looked out the window on quiet nights, the moonlight illuminating the backyard, and wondered, "What do I want for my children?" The answer that echoed in his mind was not just financial success, but a safe and loving home. At school, however, Peter and Anthony began to feel the impact of John's worries. Their grades dropped, and conversations about the future became tense. Anthony, noticing his father's agitation, asked, "Dad, you always seem worried. What's happening with the company?" John hesitated but decided to be honest. He knew he needed to find a balance between being transparent and protecting his children from the uncertainty surrounding him. While dealing with the company, John began to implement changes. He called regular meetings with his team, where they not only discussed challenges, but also celebrated small victories. This new approach helped create a more positive environment, and he felt that by opening up, he was building a support network that could help them all get through tough times. However, the pressure did not cease. One particularly stressful morning, upon receiving bad news about the company's financial situation, John felt on the verge of a breakdown. He decided to take a walk. The fresh air and sunlight helped clear his thoughts. During this walk, he remembered Julia's words about the importance of connecting with his feelings. "If I don't take care of myself, how can I take care of them?" he thought. This reflection led him to understand that he needed help. John began looking for a therapist with whom he could vent about his anxieties and frustrations. In one of the sessions, he talked about the weight he felt regarding his family and the company. The therapist helped him realize that regardless of what happened with the company, The love and support he offered his children were what truly mattered. With this new understanding, John committed to being more present. He made it a point to be home in time for dinner, even if it meant working late on other days. He started cooking with his children, creating moments of fun that also strengthened family bonds. These moments became a source of joy, bringing a new sense to John's life. The changes did not come without challenges. There were days when the pressure would build up again, making him feel overwhelmed. On one of those days, he had a heated argument with a team member. After the argument, he felt guilty and decided to apologize. This action helped him cultivate an environment of open communication, where everyone felt heard and valued. Over time, John learned that his struggle for the company was also a struggle for his own identity. Each obstacle became an opportunity for growth, and he transformed into a more loving and present father. He began to realize that success was not just about material wealth, but about building solid and meaningful relationships. Thus, John's journey led him to a new understanding of life. He learned valuable lessons about the importance of balance, communication, and love. By facing his internal and external challenges, John not only picked himself up but also became an example for his children, showing that despite difficulties, true strength lies in connection and love. The pressure on John increased each day. The company was facing a financial crisis that seemed endless, and he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. On a particularly difficult day, while reviewing reports and trying to find solutions, an unexpected phone call from an investor put him on high alert. The investor had decided to withdraw their support, which could be the fatal blow that the company could not withstand. John knew he needed to do something, and fast. That night, as he returned home, his mind was clouded. He tried to divert his thoughts, but anxiety consumed him. The meal with his children was a struggle to maintain composure. Amid laughter and conversation, worry manifested in his distant gaze. When he finally retreated to his bedroom, he felt defeated. He questioned whether he had failed as a father and as a businessman. What if I can't sustain our life? What will happen to them? These questions haunted him. The next morning, after a restless night, John decided it was time to act. He called a meeting with his team. The tension was palpable, but he took a deep breath and began to speak. "We are facing a difficult moment," he said, with a firm voice but filled with emotion. "We need to unite our strengths. We cannot let fear paralyze us. I believe in each of you, and together we can find a way out." He saw worried faces, but he also noticed a spark of hope. The team began discussing ideas, and John realized he was not alone in this battle. The unity and collaboration that emerged at that moment were exactly what he needed. The energy in the air shifted, and the atmosphere of despair began to dissipate. At the end of the meeting, everyone was motivated, ready to face the challenge. In the following days, John threw himself into efforts to save the company. He dedicated long hours, analyzing every detail, seeking new partnerships, and exploring creative ways to optimize resources. Even with the stress, he made an effort to maintain communication with his children. Family nights became sacred, moments when worries were set aside and connection flourished. However, on a fateful afternoon, while reviewing a new contract, John received a call that would change everything. It was a potential new investor, someone who had heard about the changes in the company and was interested in a new partnership. John's heart raced. It was the chance he needed. With determination, he scheduled a meeting and prepared to present his renewed vision. On the day of the meeting, John arrived at the investor's office, his heart beating fast. He knew that this meeting could be the turning point he had been waiting for. With a clear and passionate presentation, he shared his ideas, emphasizing teamwork and the new approach he had implemented at the company. The investor listened attentively, asking questions and showing genuine interest. After the meeting, the silence in the room was deafening. John felt a knot in his stomach as he waited for a response. Finally, the investor smiled and said, "I'm impressed with what you and your team have accomplished in such a short time. I want to invest in your company." Relief flooded over John. He had overcome his biggest challenge, not just for himself, but for his children and everyone who depended on him. As he returned home, the feeling of lightness was indescribable. He walked into the kitchen where Peter and Anthony were preparing a meal. Upon seeing him, the boy's eyes lit up. "Dad, how was the meeting?" Anthony asked eagerly. John smiled, wrapping them in a hug. It was amazing, boys. We have a new investor. Joy filled the house, and they celebrated together, laughing and sharing stories. With the company on the road to recovery, John realized that his journey was not just about material success, but about the strength of relationships. He learned that even amidst chaos, love and mutual support were what truly mattered. Open communication with his children, moments of relaxation, and unity with his team had become the pillars that supported his life. In his moments of reflection, John often remembered how the experience had shaped him. He understood that failing was not the end but an opportunity for a fresh start. The challenges, no matter how daunting, brought valuable lessons. In the end, true wealth lay in the connections he cultivated, both at home and at work. And so, with a lighter heart and a new perspective on life, John moved forward, ready to face whatever the future held for him. John felt a mix of relief and euphoria as he returned home. The news of the new investor still pulsated in his mind, as if each beat of his heart reaffirmed the new hope he had. Upon entering the kitchen, he found Peter and Anthony focused on preparing dinner. The aroma of the simmering tomato sauce was warm and inviting, and he couldn't help but smile at seeing his son so engaged in the task. "Dad, you're back," Peter exclaimed, interrupting what he was doing. "How was the meeting?" "It was incredible, boys." "We have a new investor," John replied, happiness written all over his face. The boys' eyes sparkled, and the kitchen quickly filled with laughter and celebration. They decided to have a small party, a way to celebrate not just the investment, but the strength of family. As they prepared the meal, John reflected on what had happened. He realized that the pressure he felt was not merely a heavy burden, but an opportunity for growth. He had learned the importance of asking for help and trusting his team. The open conversation he had with his collaborators had fostered an environment of collaboration and innovation. Now, the team was more united than ever, and that made him hopeful. That night, after dinner, while the boys played in the living room, John sat down with his wife, Clara. He wanted to share with her everything he had learned during that turbulent time. "You know, Clara," he began, "I realize that true strength comes from unity. I couldn't have done this alone. The team came together, and we managed to turn the situation around." Clara smiled, proud of her husband. "You have always had this power to inspire those around you, John. Sometimes, it takes a challenge for us to see how capable we really are." She took his hand, and they shared a moment of silence, where love and understanding were evident. In the following days, John devoted himself to consolidating the new investment and implementing the changes he had planned. He organized regular meetings with his team, ensuring that everyone was aligned and motivated. The atmosphere in the company had changed. Anxiety had given way to hope and determination. Ideas flowed, and everyone was excited to contribute their skills. During one of those meetings, one of his collaborators, Laura, raised her hand and said, "John, I just wanted to thank you. You not only brought us back to the surface, but you also made us believe we can make a difference. That's something I'll never forget." Her words resonated with everyone present, and John felt warmth in his heart. He realized that the impact of his actions went beyond the financial. He had restored his team's confidence. But the changes didn't stop there. He also began to dedicate more time to his children. Family nights became sacred, filled with stories, laughter, and moments of connection. One day, while playing a board game, Anthony looked at his father and asked, "Dad, were you scared when the company was struggling?" John hesitated for a moment but decided to be honest. "Yes, son, I was. But I learned that even when you're afraid, it's possible to find the courage to face challenges. And when we do it together, everything becomes easier." Anthony's eyes lit up with the answer. "So, you don't have to be afraid, because we are with you." Peter agreed, and John felt a wave of gratitude. Those simple words, spoken with such sincerity, touched him deeply. As time went on, the company began to stabilize. Profits started to grow, and the relationships he had cultivated became stronger. John realized that the crisis was not just an obstacle but an opportunity for learning and growth. He became a stronger leader, a more present father, and a man more aware of his emotions. He knew that the future would still bring challenges, but now he was prepared. With his team by his side and his family united, he felt he could face anything. The love and support he had always sought became the foundation of his life, and he was determined never to forget the most important lesson he had learned. Together, we are stronger. John reflected on his journey as he watched his family gathered around the table, laughing and sharing stories. The transformation he had experienced was evident in both his personal and professional life. He had started as an overwhelmed man, struggling against pressure and the fear of failure. Now he saw himself as a stronger leader, a more present father, and a man who had learned the importance of mutual support. The days that followed were filled with achievements, but more than that, they were filled with meaningful moments. John's team, once unmotivated, now worked united, driven by the new vision he had shared. Meetings were filled with ideas and enthusiasm, and every achievement, no matter how small, was celebrated as a step toward a better future. John's collaborators not only became colleagues but friends who supported each other. At home, game nights and conversations became a ritual that strengthened family bonds. John realized that the time he spent with his children was as valuable as any financial success he could achieve. The connection he established with Peter and Anthony was a constant reminder that true wealth was not just in numbers, but in the relationships we cultivate throughout life. One day, while the boys were drawing, Peter looked at John and said, "Dad, you are our hero." Those words touched John's heart. He realized that even though he had faced challenges and moments of doubt, his journey had also shaped him as an example for his children. He wanted them to know that life is full of ups and downs, but facing them together brings strength and hope. The company continued to thrive, and John realized that his true success was not just in profit, but in the culture of support and collaboration he had created. He began to invest in personal development programs for his team, encouraging each person to grow and become the best version of themselves. This approach not only benefited the company, but also created an environment where everyone felt valued and respected. On a sunny afternoon, while walking through the park with Clara and the boys, John felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything he had experienced. He had learned that true strength lies in unity, in the ability to turn challenges into opportunities, and in the importance of valuing the people around us. He smiled as he realized that even in the face of difficulties, there was always a light at the end of the tunnel. And that light came from the love and support of his family and team. Looking to the future, John felt ready for any challenge that might come. He knew that regardless of the circumstances, he could count on those around him. His journey of personal overcoming had not only transformed him, but had also taught him the importance of resilience, love, and friendship. Now, whenever someone asked him about his success, John would respond with a smile. True success is knowing that we are never alone. Together, we are stronger. This message echoed in his heart, and he shared it whenever he could, inviting everyone to reflect on their own journeys. And you? What challenges have you overcome in your life? Share your experiences and reflections in the comments. Let's create a network of support and inspiration together. If you liked this story and want more content like this, please like and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps bring more stories of overcoming and transformation. Together, let's inspire and grow. What was the moment that touched your heart the most or left you speechless in this emotional journey of the Oliver family? We would love to hear your opinion. Leave a comment below and share your reflections with us, as your perspective is essential to us and helps us spread even more engaging stories. If you know someone who might be moved by this story, don't hesitate to share the video with them. Let's spread moments that inspire and touch the heart. And if you're looking forward to more narratives that capture the essence of life and emotion, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be the first to know when we release new videos that promise to take you on a new emotional adventure. If you like this story, please give it a like. I really want to read your thoughts on the story in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you in the next emotional story.